Like, is it just me that's so excited? Like, I know that there's people that's excited. Me, for one, I am excited. If you were to ask me, am I scared? Something that I talked about, I'm trying already. I know that our creator, there's something, not something, there's a lot of things, bro, that I always have to stop myself from correcting myself there. There's a lot of things that our creator is not happy about. Jesus Christ is the truth. I can feel him. As a chosen one, I can feel him. I know that he's coming for one, and I know that he's real. So what is it about Jesus? Although Jesus doesn't want worship and they have the whole thing twisted up, there is some people that don't know this very fact and they're out here worshiping him. Now, that's not a bad thing, because there's some people that, they're not for Jesus, they're not for love, they don't believe. You know them. You know those people. So you cannot call those people bad whatsoever. They're doing all this. It's like they don't want to give it to Jesus. But listen, for the ones that's out there worshiping Jesus Christ, as a chosen one, I can tell you that I appreciate it. So I know that Jesus Christ appreciates it. So, what is it about Jesus Christ that's so special? What is coming? Like, what are we preparing for? Like, this is something that's actually real. Jesus is who he say he is. Then you know that this is the whole world that we're talking about. So our creator is earth itself. You don't want to, go against our creator. You don't want to go against the person that gave us this life, that shared this life as a deity, that, started all that. It was just, nothingness in him, that gave us this life. You don't want to go against him. You guys know what I mean? This loving, deity, this loving power, this loving energy, soul, is real. And, he's coming back to simply prove it. The ones that don't want to believe it, like, because they don't care to dive deep into their creator. And because they don't believe enough, they'll never know. They'll be in denial all their life, and they'll be looking for, Jesus. That's all they look for is Jesus. They don't look for signs. They don't look for this. They can't even comprehend how the whole thing goes. But, I just want to say that there's some things that, we chosen ones know. Like, just offer it. The ones who Jesus chose, the ones who God chose. We know some things. And, we get to see it finally come, bro. We just know, You guys know what I mean? We just know, Like, it's finally here. And it's just going to keep on getting even more great. Regardless of, retaliation, regardless of punishment, wrath, we know that the reset is something beautiful. We know Jesus' intent. And we know the reason behind this whole thing. The reset I'm referring to, obviously. We've seen visions. We know these, these vibes, the mood of what it's going to be like when this whole thing is all over. And, the reset is finally here. And the great division. So they can yell, demons. They can yell, aliens, Antichrist. What they need to understand is that it's a fight. It don't have to be demons. It don't have to be Antichrist. It's a fight. You guys understand what I'm trying to say? We need to get right. And we know that, a lot of us are struggling with the same thing and things. You guys know what I mean? So Jesus wants us to do it as a team. It can be done. It can be done, bro. It's not nothing hard. And I explain, this is why I always explain. This is one of my teachings. I always explain that Jesus Christ is so simple and so beautiful that they'll miss him. You guys know what I mean? And the people that question God, first of all, you're not supposed to question God. The reason why you're not supposed to question God is because, you'd be looking for supernatural answers. We're only human. You guys know what I mean? Why does God let and allow things to happen? Listen, we will never truly know the real reason and its relation to free will and sin. You guys know what I mean? But people don't understand because there's a lot of twist in, Christianity. There's a lot of twist and a lot of, things that are said. You guys know what I mean? Like, the truth is actually coming.